So I'm playing Cyberpunk and I'm on the Reddit, and then I see this post. CD Projekt Red apologizes for anti-Russian content in the Ukrainian localization for Cyberpunk 2077. They link to an article from blog.playerauctions. Says CD Projekt, the renowned game developer, has publicly apologized for certain in-game dialogue and graffiti in the Ukrainian version of their hit game Cyberpunk 2077. The content in question has been perceived as critical of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The company has pledged to address these issues in an upcoming update, saying on VK and Telegram. They then show this post, and apparently have a translation here that reads, the Ukrainian localization of Cyberpunk 2077 contains several remarks that could offend some Russian players. These remarks were not written by CD Projekt Red employees and do not represent our views. We are working to rectify and replace them in the next update. We apologize for the situation and are taking measures to prevent its recurrence. More details here. They say, the Ukrainian localization of Cyberpunk 2077, which was rolled out as part of the significant 2.0 update earlier this month, included more than just linguistic changes, as reported by Zone of Games and further highlighted by Rock Paper Shotgun. The game featured unique commentary on the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Notably, a line of police dialogue was altered to include the term, well, I guess maybe I don't repeat that. It's apparently some derogatory term being changed from couldn't all these jerks bite it out in the Badlands to couldn't all this, and then that term, bite it out in the Badlands. Let's continue reading here. There's a tweet about it. Additionally, another dialogue in the game alludes to Ukraine's defiant response to Russia's demand for the surrender of Snake Island. The game also showcases graffiti artwork that combines the Ukrainian coat of arms with the symbol of the Crimean Tatars superimposed on a map of Crimea. Despite CD Projekt's previous support for Ukraine, including a donation of 1 million PLN, approximately 243k USD converted, to aid displaced Ukrainian civilians in halting game sales in Russia and Belarus. The company has distanced itself from these in-game changes in statements released on Russian social platforms VK and Telegram. CD Projekt clarified that the remarks in the Ukrainian version, quote, were not written by CD Projekt Red employees and do not represent our views. The studio further added another quote, we are working to rectify and replace them in the next update. We apologize for the situation and are taking measures to prevent its recurrence. Okay, we already got that one though. Finally, they say, the responsibility for the Ukrainian adaptation of Cyberpunk 2077 lies with SBT Localization, a Ukrainian firm known for its work on popular titles such as Baldur's Gate 3 and Darkest Dungeon. The changes have ignited debate among Russian and Ukrainian players on platforms like Steam and CD Projekt forums. Some players have labeled the contents as incitement, indicative of an anti-Russian bias, accusations of open Nazism and Russophobia have also been levied against CD Projekt, with calls to ban the games from Poland. While CD Projekt has refrained from further comments on the controversy, efforts to reach SBT localization for more insights are ongoing. Updates will be provided upon receiving a response. Yeah, so it seems like localizers once again abusing their power. Even CD Projekt apparently supports Ukraine, and they're like, nah, what are you guys doing? Let's check out some of the responses on that Reddit post that I mentioned earlier. Well, from 6 minutes ago, looks like the thread was locked. Moderator saying, I think these conversations have run their productive course or did some time ago. Locking. One response from Pixel seems to criticize the localization, and a response to Pixel from Reed seems to defend the localization more or less. Another comment pointing out that apparently a lot of Redditors here have not actually read the article. Right below that, comment exchange, then saying this was unprofessional on the localization team's part, and they've actually made it worse for themselves. Why would someone else hire them if there is a high chance, that they would do that again and your business will take a hit as a result? Getting a response that says, my thoughts exactly. If you have one job and that's to provide as faithful a translation as possible, this ain't it. Kind of a disservice to those playing the game in this language. And a response from Spartan saying, not to argue the specifics, but most studios want teams that make good localizations, not necessarily faithful ones. It sounds like nitpicking, but it's two very different things, as sometimes some concepts, references, and jokes just can't be translated faithfully while still being understandable for the target audience. For example, The Simpsons' Castilian Spanish dub, especially during the 90s, Final Fantasy XIV's English dub is another good one. The problem with that rhetoric, though, is that it often gets taken advantage of by localizers who could do a more faithful translation, but willingly don't, and then say that exact line. We just had to change it for the audience over here to understand. When in reality, oftentimes, it would have been fine if they didn't change it to what they deemed was the proper choice. For example, Trails of Cold Steel, we had localizers literally telling the public on a Twitch stream, that they will change the content of certain jokes from Japan because they think Western audiences will find them offensive. So oftentimes they could do a more faithful translation, but they choose not to. And then when they get backlash for it because they decided based off their own personal moral code, which is often full of hypocrisy, by the way, like I was saying, when they get backlash for that, they pull that line. We had to do it this way. The audience just wouldn't understand. When in reality, no, the audience would understand. You chose to change it because you, the localizer, was offended by it. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. I'll see you in the comments and, of course, in the next segment on the way.